All right.
Kirby, do you want to reintroduce yourself now that we've started recording or anything like
Sure.
that?
And so again, my name is Kirby R. Gibson. I use she, her, hers pronouns, and I am the Assistant Director of Residence Education at Michigan State University. So I'm a member of the TPE Planning Committee, specifically the Candidate Development Subcommittee.
Hello, everybody. My name is Bailey Adams. I'm a residence director at Oakland University and also a part of the TPE Planning Committee and on this Candidate Development Subcommittee.
Hello, everyone. My name is Robert Braswell. I am the Senior Associate Dean of Students at University of North Texas. I am also a member of the TPE Planning Committee and a member of the Candidate Development Subcommittee.
Hi, everyone. That's your committee, right, Kirby? Yes. Okay. Hi, everyone. I am Brenda Ice. I am the Assistant Dean and Director of Campus Life at Scripps College in Claremont, California, and I currently serve as the Chair-elect.
Hi, everybody. My name is Josh Hartman. I use the he series pronouns. I'm the Director of Residential Life and Learning at Tufts University in Boston, and I am serving in the role of Chair of the TPE Committee this year. I'm very lucky to work with this wonderful group of humans that you're seeing before you right now. So thank you, Kirby, for running this thing, and thank you to the candidate development team for being able to put some great info out to our candidates.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody, for introducing themselves. If you want to share where you all are coming from or speaking from, feel free to add that to the chat. And we are, again, are grateful for you all joining us today. Let's go ahead and get rolling. So the overview, or at least of what our time together is going to look like. So pretty much the plan is to talk to you all about what TPE Academy is. And so this is probably new to pretty much everybody on the call, and never may have heard of the name before, but we're really excited to talk to you all about what this program is and what we have in store for you all. But then also really wanted to take some time to talk about the Candidate Funding Award and what that process looks like for those of you all that may be seeking additional funding for to be able to attend TPE onsite. And so that's pretty much going to be a bulk of our time together, as well as providing you all the opportunity to ask any questions or things like that. So let's go ahead and transition to that. So what is the TPE Academy? And so for those of you all that may have heard about TPE in the past or heard from your colleagues or peers that attended TPE, we used to have this thing known as TPE Bootcamp that was essentially an opportunity for candidates to get some additional support and assistance with their experience navigating TPE as a candidate. And so the TPE committee, planning committee, came together and kind of started contemplating about how can we make this experience something that wasn't necessarily just like, all right, let's prep right the day before and rush the experience, but versus how can the experience be more comprehensive over a period of time and really build and help develop and help folks feel prepared for their search. So hence the name TPE Academy. And so as you can see here, TPE Academy is a semi-structured preparation and networking opportunity dedicated to developing candidates for holistic student affairs and higher education job search. And so it's a tiered support system that has a blend of experiential learning, but also, again, that support to really just help prepare you for TPE onsite in advance versus the day before. It also provides you all with a one-on-one coaching relationship with a seasoned professional in the field, but then also providing you all the opportunity to be connected and network with other folks that are navigating their job search process as well. And so really the premise of TPE Academy is from the start of, let's say, of next year to around May of next year. We'll talk about deadlines in a bit. We really are hoping to support you along the way with that one-on-one like mentoring as you are navigating your search. And I'll turn it over to Rob to talk about some learning outcomes.
Yeah, so as a result of participating in TPE, we have a list of, or a number of learning outcomes that our candidates will receive, or also the learning outcomes for our coaches. And so candidates who participate in the TPE Academy they'll develop the necessary written materials for their job search. And so throughout the curriculum of the TPE Academy, candidates will be able to pretty much work on their resumes, their cover letters, those type of materials that you need for your job searches. So you'll be able to develop those things through this academy. You'll be able to identify and evaluate your personal and professional goals in relations to the job search. Some of those are your goals and your next steps and where you want to be, or the types of positions you're looking for, things like that. And then also to implement strategies learned in the interview process. So through the curriculum, you may be able to, there's certain things you'll be doing throughout the curriculum that will help you with your interview process, whether it's like mock interviews or working on your elevator spill, things like that, being able to do things like that, and then also develop your professional network. And so through the academy, you'll be able to develop with your cohort of those other individuals who are participating in the academy, but also with the coaches. And so using your network and creating your capital, your social capital within student affairs. Also, our coaches who are participating will support our TPE candidates with their job search. And so that's kind of that mentorship role, as Kirby mentioned, and being there, part of your cheerleading team, your support system, as you seek or as candidates seek employment opportunities through TPE. Coaches will be able to demonstrate their understanding and knowledge of student affairs and higher education landscape, explain and critique approaches and successfully navigating a job search. And so using their own expertise and their own experiences and some of the knowledge that they've collected over the scope of time during their time in student affairs, coaches will be able to help you perfect help you with your approaches. Invest in the future of our student affairs and higher education, and then also develop and expand their professional network, as coaches will also be learning or getting to know other coaches and our candidates who are participating in the academy.
And so while we highlighted both the learning outcomes for candidates and coaches, and although this session is geared towards you all as candidates, we want you all to be thinking about too, like folks that you may have in your professional career or in your life that you think that will potentially serve as good coaches as well. And so we'll be doing a call for both applicants, for the candidates, as well as coaches. And so if you know somebody in your network that's like, they would be a bomb coach, and you think that someone would be able to benefit from this, from their experience, as well as any other knowledge that they have, feel free to direct them our way. And then I'm turning it all over to Bailey now to talk about the format and structure.
All right, so we're going to get into some of the dates and things like that in a couple of slides here, but we want to give a brief overview of what like the whole process is going to look like. So as we mentioned, this is kind of going to be a tiered support system. So we're going to start with like on-site kind of workshops and things like that, similar to some of the webinars that we have put on already. They're going to be virtual engagement sessions with your partnered coaches and potentially with your partnered peers that are going through this coaching model with you. So we are kind of looking at it more like a cohort model instead of like an individual one-on-one type of thing. The program will run roughly through Monday, January 20th through Friday, May 1st, which is going to be right after TPE completes. So it'll be about how many months is that? Couple month long journey that you'll get to be with hopefully your coaches and your peers. And then we're going to do some on-site work with that too. So on-site, we'll actually be doing those mock interviews, have an opportunity to sit down with a coach one-on-one and maybe ask some of those last-minute questions for those interviews that you stacked your schedule with. Of course, we'll be going over more of like the on-site nuances, giving you a tour so that you understand what is happening on-site, where everything is on-site, and making sure you're ready once you get on-site. And then post TPE, we're hoping that those virtual engagement sessions and some of those relationships you've built during this journey can continue so that you're able to do some check-ins or maybe ask some questions as you're working on those on campuses, accepting offers, or maybe even negotiating some of those things. So all throughout, we're hoping as a candidate subcommittee or candidate development subcommittee that we'll be hosting some office hours and things like that online so that we can help those who are specifically joining us through the community or through the academy. I keep wanting to say committee instead of academy. We want to specifically have some office hours to join those candidates who are going through the academy with us, in addition to making sure that we're giving the coaches a time to come together with their committee as well. So it's going to be a blend of virtual and in-person engagement, and we say semi-structured flow because as Rob mentioned, we will have curriculum that is going to be outlining kind of the bare minimum of what we're expecting these coaches to do. But it's going to be mostly on you as the candidates in these groups to help develop the times that those are going to take place, when those are going to be in, like over what type of technology or format that you're going to have those sessions in. So we'll provide the outline, and then you partnered with your coaches will be able to figure that out.
Cool. And so what do we expect from you all as folks who would participate in this experience? And so we do have a few expectations or requirements that would allow you to participate. And so one of those being that we would like for you to be able to attend TPE on-site as a candidate. And so as Bailey brought up earlier, there are, so there's the kind of pre-virtual sessions that you will all participate in with your coaches, but then also we hope that you are able to join us on site. And so we recognize that some folks may be utilizing TPE in their job search, but not necessarily for the on-site component. And so we are requesting that folks that apply are candidates for TPE. Specifically, the on-site portion workshop that Bailey was talking about would take place on that Wednesday, March 25th. Most likely, we're still finalizing the time, but that information will become available to you all shortly. But essentially, it would be the day before interviews start at TPE. And so I'm hoping that you would be able to join us for that workshop. And then the other goals or expectations, I should say, pretty much outline your engagement as a participant. And so we want you to be actively engaging in this process. And so how are you really being reflective on the goals that you have in relation to your job search, as well as following through on the various things that would be outlined in the TPE Academy curriculum. And so, for example, one of those things may be, all right, you need to send your most up-to-date version of your resume over to your candidate, to your coach. And so making sure that you're following through on that so that your coach is being able to best assist you in whatever way that they can. We also ask that you are able to communicate. And so one, being able to respond to any materials that you receive for us as a candidate development subcommittee, but then also making sure that you're having meaningful contact with your coach via whatever communication method that you all decide. So if that's phone, if that's email, and or virtual meetings. And so hoping that you, for those of you all have that, have access to technology, can utilize like Google Hangout or Zoom or things like that, be able to have that one-on-one engagement with your coach. We also want you to be mindful that your coach is taking time out of their own schedules and their jobs and things like that to be able to engage with you on this, with this kind of personal relationship. And so making sure that you're respectful of their time, and we're also hoping that they're going to be respectful of your time too, as well as participate in any of the scheduled sessions that we would have as a candidate development subcommittee. And then of course, finally, being able to participate in the full duration of the Academy experience. And so again, we are only selecting up to 40 folks to participate in this experience. And so if you know that this is something that you aren't able to fully commit to, we ask that you may reflect on what that means for you, because we want to make sure that folks that are participating in this experience are able to fully participate from start to finish. Rob, you're on mute.
Sorry. Every time I start talking and still on mute. So our next steps, what are we doing? What's coming up? So at the end of this week, the application to participate in the TPE Academy will be live. And so we'll be sure to post on social media when applications are live. So please, keep a lookout on our social media sites. As you see at the bottom left there, that's our Twitter that's listed. And then our application deadlines, it will close on Sunday. January 12th, 2020. I got the year right. I've been saying 2019 all day, talking about January. And then our selection notification, we will review applications throughout that week, of Sunday through the week. And then that Friday, January 17th, is the day that we plan to notify our participants, those who are accepted to participate in our inaugural TPE Academy. So it'll be a really big deal as being the first participants in our academy. So we're very excited about that. And then our TPE Academy orientation and welcome will be the week of January 20th. As we get closer to the selection notification, we will be sure to solidify that date and provide times and things like that, and what that welcome will look like. And so we'll be able to go into more details of the academy and those full expectations and details, things like that, during the academy, and walking you through what to expect and more details during that welcome. Back to Kirby.
Cool. And so one of the things that we wanted to, again, highlight as it relates to the application. And so the application would consist of a variety of questions. One, to help us in our pairing and matching of coaches, but then two, really being able to get an idea of what you're hoping to gain from this experience. And so that way, as we are finalizing our curriculum and overall plans, we want to make sure that we're keeping you all in mind for this experience as folks that are participating. We have the full outline and whatnot already put together in terms of what we think would be best in terms of helping you navigate your search, but really still wanting to make sure that we hear from you all as folks who are participating in the experience about how this would best support you and whatnot. And so one other thing to highlight with the application deadline, this is also a couple days after the early bird registration will end with TPE. And so for those of you all that are still considering whether or not you want to attend TPE on site, you want to make sure you try to do so by at least the 10th. And so you can get that early bird rate. Otherwise, it will go up after that. And so you can actually visit the placementexchange.com website for more info on those rates. And so pretty in line with what that timeline would be. So wanting to take a minute to pause for any questions that folks may have about the Academy before we transition to talking about the candidate funding award. Feel free to type in the lovely chat box, or you're more than welcome to also speak over the video chat. Good question. All the questions are coming in. All right. So how often do we need to meet with our coach via virtually? All right. Good question. And so that goes back to the point that we brought up earlier about it being a semi-structured essentially experience. And so that would be something that you would determine with your coach. We're asking that at least it's a couple times a month or so. But it's up to how you develop that relationship with your coach. There will be like timelines that are specified of like, hey, you need to work on your resume and cover letter review by this timeline. Make sure you connect with the coach by X date. However, the frequency of what that looks like is going to be contingent on what you and your schedule and your coach's schedule looks like. If you don't hear from your coach, that's concerning. And so we definitely want to make sure that you reach out to us as a subcommittee so we can reach out to them to see what's going on. But again, it's how it's up to you all to determine what that frequency is going to look like or what method.
Can I add on to that too, Kirby?
Sure.
I think especially with that, it is a case-by-case basis depending on how many candidates we get and how many coaches we get. So we are shooting for about 40 candidates and 20 coaches, I think were our numbers, so that each coach could have about 2 candidates. But if we only get a handful of coaches and we've got a ton of candidates, I mean, we may have 5 or 6 candidates to a coach. So it's going to depend on what they can handle and what their peers can handle too. So definitely case-by-case for sure.
Cool. Thanks, Bailey. We had another question about, will locations of coaches and participants be considered? That's a good question. Definitely something we could take into consideration. I recognize that we will have coaches that are from, like, for example, Brenda's out on the West Coast. And so, like, and if she were to partner with someone from the East Coast, time zone may be something. Time zone may be something that would impact the ways in which they're able to connect with each other. And so, again, we'll try to be as mindful as possible, but we're also hoping to, as you are establishing your relationship with your coach, that's something that you all could try to figure out as well in terms of availability and things like that. It could also be that your coach may be more willing to talk about or connect with you on the weekends. Again, it is contingent on what both availabilities are looking like, and we're hoping that that's something that can be mutually agreed upon. But good suggestion, and we will definitely keep it in mind. Other questions? All righty, if there aren't any other questions, feel free to save any questions that you may have for the end. We still can address them. I'm gonna go ahead and turn it on over to Brenda and Josh to talk a little bit more about the candidate funding award.
Thank you, Kirby. I appreciate it. And the rest of the committee too. As I said before, I am Brenda Ice, and I serve as the chair-elect of the TPE Planning Committee. One of my roles is overseeing the process for the Candidate Funding Award. And so I wanted to spend a little time just giving you a general overview of why we do this without spending a lot of time on the actual mechanics of the application. More of that will be provided as we get closer to the release of it through our social media pages, emails, and communication. But I wanted to be able to talk about the premise of why we do and how the structure kind of rolls out and how this would impact you as a potential candidate should you be interested in actually applying for the funding award. And so with most awards and scholarships or grants, it usually comes out of a place of feedback we receive over the years around need. And so we don't shy away from the fact that we've heard time and time again about the cost of conference attendance. And that's not necessarily about our TPE experience, but just any conference in general that anyone is looking to pursue as a way of promoting their own professional development. That you can't really offer these types of programs without there being a cost associated with it. And so one of the things that we thought about years ago when we started implementing this funding award was, how can we both still promote the efforts of what it takes to actually put together an on-site event, while also recognize the overall cost and impact that it might have on people, and whether or not that becomes a deterrent of them participating in our particular program. Where this impacts the most that we've seen, either from direct feedback from the candidates or just in our own conversations that we have with our colleagues, is really with our graduate students who are looking for that next step. And so one of the first criteria that I want to explain and express is that the Candidate Funding Award is for graduate candidates only. And I want to make sure that we understand that distinction, is that we will have lots of people looking for jobs as part of TPE, but in honoring the requests and feedback that we heard from previous candidates, we're being selective and exclusive, at least in who can apply for the funding award, and limiting that to graduate candidates. And that is both a master's level graduate candidate and a doctoral graduate candidate. So those that are full-time professionals looking for that next level or for a shift in the student affairs functional area are welcome to attend TPE, but would not be considered as an eligible or viable candidate for this particular award for those reasons. We recognize that many graduate programs come with either shortened hours of assistantships or full payment that you're receiving. And so this is but one way that we can kind of help supplement that process for you. The other piece is that the award is not meant to fully fund your TPE experience. And so if folks on the call or even in conversations you have with other colleagues are saying, well, I want the award because I know it will cover the full cost, I don't think that that's a viable reason, or it would be realistic if you were in fact awarded it. If you visit our website, you'll see that the cost of registration for candidates at the low end, at the early bird, is $89. And if you missed all other deadlines, the highest cost of your registration is $134. And so one would argue, well, that seems reasonable, but that is but one aspect of your TPE experience. You then have to think about your lodging, your travel and getting to the location, your meals during that time period, and it starts to add up. And so we're conscious of all those extra things that get added on outside of the registration. And so the awarding is, the award and the offering that we give to you is meant to help supplement your experience, but not in any way cover the full cost. If you somehow think that you can get the award when we put in the dollar amount and get it, great. Then we probably want you to lead our next series on financial planning, because that would be a great effort and opportunity to kind of share that with future candidates. So if you know that going in, that this isn't going to fully fund, that it makes it a little easier when you then have to go through the application process, which is the last element I'll talk about. That this is meant to be a very intentional review of candidates in need or looking for some additional support. So it's not a give me your name, check your box, and we just filter through and take the first 10 or randomly select whatever number we come up with. There actually is an application process. So we want to know not only how this award would help enhance your experience at TPE, but we really want to know what it means for you to be a part of the student affairs profession. And so there will be questions around how you got to this point. So what inspired you to even pursue a career in student affairs? That's going to be important to us to consider, because we really want people in it for you know, coming to TPE, one, obviously to get a job, but we're hoping that you're finding some value in being surrounded by other professionals with similar interests, either in a functional area or just simply wanting to be a part of the greater good that student affairs is meant to offer to our students on our college campuses. So we'll want you to really dig deep and really think about the essay questions that we'll provide. So what inspired you? We'll ask questions about what your professional development currently looks like, what level of involvement you're currently involved in any professional associations, what you might consider doing by being a part of TPE as a candidate. Is there opportunity for volunteership? What I will say, though, is just simply volunteering doesn't necessarily automatically assume or put you in the realm of us to consider you for an award, but it is something for you to consider and think about. Our ultimate goal is to make sure that regardless of what dollar amount we end up providing in the award, is that we have done our due diligence to get folks to TPE that wouldn't otherwise have considered it because of their true, genuine interest in wanting to advance the profession of student affairs. I will pause there for questions, clarification that I might be able to provide around that. Is there, okay, here's one. It says, is there a max number of folks that can receive the award? And so I think I led by saying we won't get into the mechanics of it because there's still some nuances that we as a planning committee need to finalize. We know what our overall threshold is and the number in the dollar amount being offered, but what we don't want to necessarily do is say we're only going to select 5. If we find that they're more valuable, there are more people interested, that we want to maybe spread out whatever that dollar amount is. And so as we get closer to the release, we hope that we can establish that, but we also would ask that, you know, if we can, to create that level of flexibility so that we can actually help as many people as we can get to the TPE experience. Thank you, Tim, for that. How do we seek out volunteer opportunities? I'm actually going to pause that question for you, Twyla, right now, because I think our chair would be the ideal person to talk about volunteership, as that was his kind of the go-to committee before he became the chair. Any other questions around what I've shared before? I will end with, and certainly we'll stay on the call if there are additional questions as we kind of close and wrap up the conversation. The date of when we will release it has not been solidified, but it will be early January, and it will be around the time period of the early bird deadline, which is January 10th. And so we just need to kind of fine tune between the leadership of the planning committee to articulate what that specific date. But trust anyone who is already registered as a candidate or would be considered a candidate will get that information pushed out so that they're aware of it. The application itself will include some demographic information. It will require you to answer a series of essays, more than one, less than 5. And then you will have to upload a resume. So we will not go look at your candidate profile to find your resume as a part of our application process. So be prepared to also have an updated resume when you submit your application. Our idea is that once we launch the start date, or excuse me, the open application, is that it'll be about a month period of allowing for applicants to submit. We will do as best we can a very quick turnaround so that we can notify folks in advance, usually hopefully within a month's time of their award, so that they can then begin to finalize any additional travel plans that they have before they attend TPE with us in March. Okay, I think that is all I wanted to make sure that I was able to cover for everyone. Again, I'll stay on the call if there are additional questions that come up, but at this point I will turn it over to our fearless leader, Josh, chair of this year's TPE Planning Committee.
I don't know how fearless, but you know, whatever, do what I gotta do. So there are a ton of volunteer opportunities out there for sure. The one thing that I would say, especially since this is a candidate presentation here, I think that there's, if you're a candidate and you're engaging in TPE, my advice to you would be think about what you need for yourself to be able to be successful in your candidacy. And if that means, you know, volunteering a couple of shifts or like doing something that'll get you out of the interview mindset, awesome. We'd love to have you. We have a gajillion things to do. We have to run mail. We have to greet people. We need help, like, you know, kind of organizing things in some of our rooms and talking to people in the interview hall and things like that. We have a lot of opportunities for on-site volunteer stuff for sure, but also, you know, don't necessarily feel obligated to volunteer because you're there. You know, your goal is to be able to make really great connections and be able to advance your career and advance your you know, your time in the field. And so we don't want to take away anything from that. I will say though, on that line, some of the greatest people that I've met through TPE have been through my volunteer experiences, not just on the committee here, but also through when I was a candidate coach and a volunteer and working with what TPE Academy used to be when it was called something else. And so I think there's a lot of really great opportunities to be engaged. The volunteer opportunities, to get directly at your question of how do we seek them out, on our website at theplacementexchange.org, you can go on and find, you click on volunteer opportunities. It should be one of the menus to pull from. You can navigate to it from the spring on-site event as well. And you could put in like an interest form of what you're interested in doing. And Crystal, who oversees our engagement committee, will get in touch with you as we get a little bit closer to the event to schedule some options for you. But there's definitely a lot of opportunities for engagement, regardless of, you know, ability or interest level. Like, you have a lot of different things that you could possibly do that could involve moving around a little bit, could involve not moving around at all, could involve talking to people, could involve not talking to anybody. Really depends on what you're looking for in your experience. But if anybody does have specific questions or wants advice on how to get involved, you can reach out to any of us. You feel free to reach out to me directly. I'm always available, but also anybody on the committee can be helpful as well.
One thing that I wanted to note too about the volunteer sign up, you'll notice that there's a slot or a space that talks about candidate coaches. Wanting to go ahead and clarify now that you have to have a certain level of, or years of experience in order to be a candidate coach. And so let's say you are a candidate, but you've been in the field 3 years post-masters, you would be good to go to serve as a candidate. However, for those of you all that don't have any postmaster's experience yet, unfortunately, this opportunity would not be for you because we want you to be able to still focus, one, on your own development within the field, but then also we wanted to make sure that we can give you all access to folks who have had some time in the field as well. So just wanted to put that disclaimer out there. If you see, you're like, oh, I want to be a coach. Sorry, come back to us in 3 years. Alrighty, so with that, that actually ends our presentation. And so wanting to open it up for any final questions that you all as viewers may have about TPE Academy, the Candidate Funding Award, or anything else TPE related that we may be able to answer. So feel free to ask. Awkward silence. Oh, cool. Got a question from Tim. So how do I know if TPE is right for me in the functional area that I intend to pursue? Woo! Good question. Good question. Let's see. Let's go ahead and turn it on over to our chair and chair-elect to answer that question for us.
I knew that was going to happen. I totally knew that was going to happen. So I think that's a great question. I think that there's a stereotype, a bias. I don't know. There's a thing out there that basically says that TPE is only for entry-level residential life positions. Like that's like the narrative that exists in the world. If we think about the field of student affairs, the majority of actual positions that exist are entry-level residential life and maybe academic advising type positions. Like there's a high number of those kinds of positions. So it's not too surprising that there's a large number of those that are available at an event like TPE. However, I would say that there are a lot of other areas represented, and residential life is actually, the numbers have kind of held sort of steady with residential life, but other service areas have been really rapidly increasing. Service learning, community service, that's been an area that's been growing over the last several years. Spiritual and religious life is one that's grown over the past couple of years. We actually had some representatives from Hillel International doing some recruiting through TPE, which is not something they've done in the past. We also, student conduct, Robert, I'm sure could talk a little bit about that, but student conduct positions have been popping up a lot more recently as well. And, fraternity, sorority life, student activities, there's just a lot out there. And so I think that thinking about what your functional area is, I think the best thing for you to think about first is to go onto the TPE website and see what sorts of positions are posted on TPE, not just the event post, because TPE is a year-round sort of a resource for you. But if you're seeing things that are posted within your service area on the TPE website, even if they're not an on-site event, be aware of the fact that folks who are posting those kind of positions there might be posting on-site as well. And that's like something that might be coming down the pike there as well. But I do think that the stereotype about it being mostly residential life is like not necessarily always all that fair. But there's a lot. There's a lot of other service areas represented out there. I don't know, Brenda, if you have any other thoughts on things.
So mine will sound much like a TPE marketing and branding, but I think it's essential to know that this is one of the few places where you can then explore what your functional area will be. Is that how often, let's assume that you are interested in both res life and maybe student activities, that in a process outside of TPE, you're doing all the concerted effort to reach out to various institutions. You may discover that the same institution offers 2 jobs in those 2 functional areas, but now you have to navigate, oh, well, do I apply to both? What will they think about it if my name shows up in 2 searches? At TPE, they actually appreciate that there's value in you applying to one, and through their conversation, they go, you know what? You also expressed an interest in our student activities. Are you aware that this position actually exists and maybe you should consider applying, or let me connect you to this individual? You're going to be surrounded in a community of folks that actually are expecting you to have more than one interest. And this place should be able to provide you within your own search and looking at our website to find what jobs listed, or even truly coming and physically being at our on-site experience and literally bumping into individuals who might then connect you with other opportunities. It is a great way to interview and maximize your overall potential in one centralized location.
I will just add on to that also. That is awesome, like being able to explore different things. I've said this to folks on the committee many times before. My professional home is TPE in addition to NASPA and Hawaii and a couple of other groups. But like some of the people that you'll meet while you're interviewing, even if you're not interviewing with them, maybe folks who will be great colleagues for you in the field, whether they're in your service area or not. And so TPE in and of itself is kind of like a conference where you're getting to meet a whole lot of different people and engage with them in different areas. So even if your specific area isn't there, Brenda is 100% right. So it's worth exploring some things, but you know, you never know who you're going to meet, and you never know who might hire you at some point in the future. And if you meet them there, you know.
Well said, well said, well said. And then you'll also note that Rob posted a link to one of our earlier virtual engagement sessions talking about what can TPE onsite do for you. And so we actually go through some of the things that TPE is about. We actually share numbers with you in terms of like percentage of functional areas represented at TPE from kind of past experiences and things along those lines. And then specifically talk about resources that the candidate development subcommittee can offer to you as someone participating in the experience. So when you get the free time, feel free to check out that link or some other videos on our YouTube page as well to help you make informed decisions. Cool. Any other questions, comments, concerns about anything that we talked about this evening? Or other questions that you may have about TPE? Yes. So all of our sessions, the question was around how to access any of the recordings. And so any of the virtual engagement sessions that we do are recorded. If you actually go to YouTube and search the Placement Exchange, you will be able to access our YouTube channel that has the links to the variety of sessions that we've done this year so far, as well as some sessions that we've done in the past. And so feel free to check out that page for any missed webinar or session that you weren't able to attend. If it is not there, it will be there shortly, and we'll make sure that we take care of that for you. So yeah, good question. Any other questions, comments, concerns? All right, so if you don't have any other questions, feel free to reach out to us at any time at info@theplacementexchange.org. You can also visit our website, theplacementexchange.org as well for any of the information that you need. Be on the lookout for some communication regarding TPE Academy, as well as the Candidate Funding Award. Yay, we're so excited. You all are so excited. That's awesome. Woo! Share the knowledge with your peers. Also, you know, some really great practitioners in the field that you think that would be amazing coaches. Feel free to send them our way as soon as the application goes live towards the end of this week. So with that, thank you all so much for joining us this evening. And with that being said, have a good one. Bye, y'all.